Cheryl, are there do's and don'ts? You just brought up something important that we should all know when we're the caregiver, because we're not as educated as you are in this disease.
Absolutely. I try to bring out these, and the answer is yes, I'm sorry. The answer is yes, there are do's and don'ts, and I don't have all of the do's and don'ts, but I have a few, and I'd like to refer to my note. For example, you need to change your speech. You need to talk slower. You need to find different ways to say the same thing. Do have patience with the client. Talk about things that now they understand that they didn't understand before. Instead of phrasing something as much as, do you remember? We should never say that. They don't remember, and we're asking them to try to go back in that memory. You also try to remember. They can't try to remember. The other one is, did you forget our life together?
Yeah.
That's an awful position to put the loved one in, because they don't know what to say. They want to say what you want them to say, but they really don't know the answer to that. Does that sound all familiar to you?
Yes, it does, because I learned as I went along. Because you also, I have to tell you this as a caregiver, you know that there are plateaus, and then they drop and they go to another plateau, and it changes, and you don't know if the former is becoming something new. And that's the hard thing. You have to wait a few days and see if this is a pattern.
Right.
Because you've been treating him or her along one level, and then it changes.
Overnight it changes,
Yes.
right, Gail?
Yes.
You can wake up next to a person that you've known for 30,
50,
40
years.
Right. And every day is a new adventure for you. And I also found out, again referring to my notes, that it's very funny how they interpret pronouns.
Really?
It's like that, those, they, him, her. Who's him? Who's her? Could be anybody in the room. You have to target them. Why not say something different? Would you please go and sit down in the blue chair? That means you're talking directly to them. But if you say, hey, go sit over there in the chair, who's hey? You're not directing it to an individual. And it becomes a whole new world for them. I catch myself even now, after all my 9 years at doing this program, I catch myself at saying some of those pronouns, and it just comes out.
Can you imagine, you're educated in this disease, can you imagine what it's like for a caregiver, the wife or the husband, taking care and learning all this?
No.
While you're physically doing the work?
I am very sympathetic to
it's-
all of you as caregivers. I try, that's another part of my job, which I want to strive 110%, not only to take care of the individual patients or clients, but to also take care of the caregivers. You have entrusted your loved one with me, and I want to make sure that you feel good about what we're doing, and I will make mistakes as well as you do. But I will quickly tell you, I made a mistake today. He was not happy. He wanted to go sit in the chair. And I think what I mean by that, Gail, is that's overstimulating the patient.
Right.
I have learned and have taught all of my volunteers that work with me, you should do one project, one thing at a time. You can now no longer in front of them put a coffee cup with coffee in it, a glass of juice, a sandwich, and all of their utensils that you love to set your beautiful table with. Because guess what they're going to do? Finger food, or one particular piece of silverware. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, it does.
And instead of wiping with this beautiful table linen, they're now going to do this. or worse. And so again, it's a learning process for me with every new patient or client that comes to me. I know how some of them are groomed, but I don't know. I've had doctors, and I would like to tell a quick little verb about a doctor. I had a doctor that I had known all of my childhood. Here I am now faced with taking care of him in a whole different setting. Well, one day he asked me to go with him. I took him into the kitchen. He locked me in the closet. Do you remember me telling you this little
Yes,
story?
yes.
He locked me in the closet. Well, to find out, not everything was a perfect world. And the only way that I was able to get him and I out of the closet safely was to say to him, Doctor, I'm your nurse. And in order for me to be able to help you with your next patient, I need to go get the chart.
Wow. That was thinking on your feet.